need to know to be successful in business? Now, this is one of the questions I get asked the most, which is, man, how do I really make this thing successful? Look, I don't care what industry you're in. I don't care what niche you're in. I don't care what segment of business you're going into. I don't care who you are. I don't care any of that stuff. What I care about is, do the numbers in the business make sense? Well, Dennis, I'm not a numbers person, so I couldn't tell you. Look, most business can be run on grade 5 math. Okay, like it's not rocket science stuff. We're not asking you to do advanced trigonometry or physics or any of that kind of stuff. We're asking you to do grade 5 math. In fact, most of the math that you can do is found in today's calculator. Heck, if you go to Omni Calculator, you can find hundreds of calculators to do what you want them to do by putting in the information that it's looking for. So you don't need to know math. You don't even need to suck at numbers. Like it's simple stuff. You got to know your numbers. So when I say know your numbers, what am I talking about? Number one, you got to know what something costs you, and that's easy. What did I pay for it? What do I have to pay for to get it done? And that's either going to be in labor or that's going to be in product. One or the other. You're paying for time or you're paying for product. What's the cost? The second question, or what's the price? Sorry. The second thing is, what can I sell that for? What does the market value it at? So if I'm going to sell this cup of coffee for 10 bucks, is the market going to pay 10 bucks? Well, the price that I paid for that cup of coffee to buy all the ingredients and everything else I need is $2. Then I'm going to sell it for $10. Is the market going to pay for $10? Well, no. Let's say the market's only going to pay for $4. Okay, great. Well, then that tells me that I paid 2 to earn 4, but I didn't earn 4. I paid 2 to earn 2 because it's the difference between. That's the margin. The margin is what you earn. The price is what has to go back to the vendor to buy it from. So I bought it for 2, sold it for 4. 4 was the value. That goes up to somebody else. The middle part, that's the 2 that I got to keep before my expenses. Now from that gives me a 50% margin. That margin percentage has to cover things like variable expenses, fixed expenses, and net profit. So if I want to make 10% net profit, that only leaves me 40% to cover my expenses. Now, all of that seems confusing when you first enter into it, but really it's the very basis of a business is markets and margins. I have to know how to become profitable in every transaction. I have to know my margin in every transaction. I have to know the best transaction things to sell. I got to know what the market's willing to pay for. I've got to know if, well, can I sell a higher margin product versus a low margin product? What are the volumes I need to sell? It's all in your basic numbers. It's numbers that a basic spreadsheet can handle. Now, there's a lot of people I've seen on LinkedIn who bash Excel like crazy because it's a complicated system and you don't really need it. Basic Excel formulas can carry you a long way in business if you understand how they work. So number one is to know your numbers. You got to know them intimately. It's the measurables. It's the way you're going to track your process. The second thing after that, it's going to be your cash flow. How and when am I going to get paid, and am I in control of it? If I'm not in control of my cash flow, then it doesn't matter how profitable I am. If I can't get paid for doing something, then it doesn't matter what I'm doing it for. I need to control my cash flow. The third thing I would look at in the business in this order, number one is numbers, number two is cash flow, number three is sales and marketing. Why would I put sales and marketing third instead of first? Because I mean, sales solves all problems. Sales doesn't solve all problems. Profitable sales solves all problems, right? Profitable sales solves all problems. And if you're only making 5%, you're not profitable, right? A profitable margin is like 30% or greater. Like otherwise, why are you bothering with a 10% or 20% return? Unless you're talking about a massive, massive high ticket sale, like a high ticket item. Like if I'm making $100,000 to sell $1 million piece of stuff, well, then 10% might make it worth it. However, how many of those do I have to sell in a year? And is there enough customers to buy it? So like you got to look at, for the average business, 30% of base is the lowest margin I would go on a lot of stuff because it gives me enough room to play with things. So if that's the case, and I'm going to sell something, I'm not going to sell the $2 margin shoe. Why would I? I got to sell something that's profitable. So I can put all my energy marketing dollars into selling and making really high revenue, but if that high revenue doesn't come with a margin, who cares? So it's pricing and profit first. I want to understand my numbers and where they sit. Then it's cash flow. Then third thing is going to be my sales and my marketing efforts. All my marketing, all my sales are going to drive the high margin products so I can get them in. Now there is a thing called the loss leader. A loss leader is something that I sell at a discount price to drive in traffic, right? However, most people that will sell what they call their loss leader product have never run the numbers on the loss leader product. The only time a loss leader product makes sense is if you're using that product to drive higher volumes of sales and higher margin product so you can bring your average margin for that transaction higher. It's not just, I'm going to give you something at a massive discount and hope that you use me again in the future. Look, this is a mistake a lot of trades guys make, right? They get into the business and they go, well, I'm going to massively discount this one so I can get to work with such and such a builder because if I can get in the door, they'll see the quality of our work that I do and they will pay me a premium the next time. No, they won't. You set yourself up in a conversation where they got the lowest price out of you and you put the best effort into it. And here's what they know. They know that trades like you are a dime a dozen, that you're going to close down and 2 more are going to open tomorrow. They've got a massive selection of people that they can pull from. So if you're going to do it for cheap and fail, they'll bring somebody else in, but they've watched their cash flow terms to make sure that you actually don't get paid for the work that you didn't do and then the margin you couldn't make. So Don't ever walk into something going, I'm going to discount this now to make more profit later. Run your numbers and make sure if you're doing it now, you're making profit now. And if they're only buying you on price, that means you've left everything else on the table. And I've shot another video about the importance of price in a transaction. So you can always go back and you can watch that one. So when you're looking at building a business, if you're looking at running a business, if you're not sure what the heck's going on in your business and this whole COVID thing and economic thing and recession thing is throwing your business for a loop, how often are you in your numbers? If you're worried about your numbers, that's when you should be in your numbers. That's when you should be looking at your numbers. And you should be in your numbers every frigging 2 weeks, at the worst case scenario every month. So you know where you can make corrections and you know you can fix stuff. Well, Dennis, looking at my numbers stresses me out. Great. Then do something about it and fix it so they don't happen again, right? Look at what you have to do to change those numbers. Go out there and make an active decision to make those numbers different. So if I'm building any business, whether I'm running it now and it's currently not going the way I want it to, whether I'm running it now and I want to maximize what I'm going to get with it, whether I'm starting it from brand new. Number one starts with the numbers. Can I make each transaction profitable? What do those numbers have to be? And not gross profitable, net profitable. Can I make each transaction net profitable? Number two is cash flow. When am I going to get paid for that transaction? And when do I owe the bills on that transaction? I got to make sure that my cash flow is in line with where I need it to be. Number three is then sales and marketing. Am I selling something I can make money at in order to actually stay profitable? That's where I would start. That's what I would do. Till next time.